Welcome back to another discussion here at Omnia Fishing about our dive into marine electronics. Thank you to Aaron Teal and Brian Bankson, the folks over at Into Marine, for sharing some of their expertise with us, Robbie Storer as well, and our own Bob Downey, Bassmaster Elite Series angler. This segment is going to be about imaging and sonar. I'm going to kick it over to Nick to start out because Nick just rigged his boat out with all new Lowrance electronics. What was it about Lowrance that made you choose them for your imaging and sonar capabilities?
Like Aaron Teal said,
more overall. I think overall is the good way to describe Lowrance. I think overall, you could say they have the best of this or that, and a lot of people would say they've got the best 2D imaging, and I would agree with that, but I think their side imaging is also right up there with any other company. Their side imaging in particular, they run a little bit different frequency than, say, the Humminbird, but what you're going to get with Lowrance is a little bit more customizability with filtering the picture in front of you. So what I run a lot of times with the side imaging on Lowrance is the 455. The range you get with 455 is incredible. And if you're able to adjust the contrast and the settings, you picture it, it's like a camera filter. You're adjusting it to your eyes to give you that best picture. And you're able to do that with that touch screen very quick and easily on the fly. And you're able to look out 150 feet on each side of the boat and really have really good range with the Lowrance, but you can also bring it into that 60, 80 foot at either 455 or 800 kilohertz and get that extremely good, detail to really see what you're fishing.
I really like what Aaron had to say about the lower frequencies that Lowrance has to offer. I thought that was very interesting. That's something that maybe the other manufacturers didn't have or didn't excel in, but why I chose it was just like he said, all in one. They're great at everything, not the bottom, maybe not the top in specific categories, but all in all, good.
I've always heard the same thing. As far as just all across the board, their forward-facing sonars been proven. We've seen it in tournament wins and all that stuff to be a real player, and their other imaging, and they've always been known from my days, even my first boat, my first electronics I had, Lowrance has always had really, really high level 2D sonar as well. When it comes to imaging with Humminbird, Robbie Storer gave us a lot of good insight.
A handful of years ago, Humminbird came out with their dual spectrum chirp sonar, okay? So this is the best sonar that they've ever come out with. I would say it's on par or better than any sonar in the industry. The reason behind that is because it has unparalleled target separation for one. So for example, when it comes to 2D sonar, there's many people that use it in like a vertical fishing application, whether that's ice fishing or whether that's drop shotting, vertically jigging for walleyes. People are dropping a bait right down and they're watching it on their 2D screen, and it's allowing that dual spectrum chirp sonar is allowing them to get better target separation with even the smallest of baits, and it's allowing them to see fish that are hugging the bottom extremely tightly, and it's giving them even better fish definition like true fish arches.
I can speak for myself and say when I said I wouldn't get rid of my Helix unit in the previous segments we've talked about this, it's not just because of the ease of use, the user interface that we discussed in our other segments, but I've gained the utmost confidence in my ability to understand my side imaging. I think the mega imaging from Humminbird is fantastic when it comes to side imaging, and I know Joe's a huge proponent of 360.
Joe and I are extremely avid 360 users when it comes to bass fishing, and the reasoning behind it is we both believe it's probably one of the most superior casting tools on the market. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, so 360 is a tool derived from side imaging, but the 360 transducer it needs no man-made movement in order to give you a picture. The reason behind that is the transducer once it is in the water, is spinning itself automatically.
But for me, side imaging at my wheel has become one of my confidence ways to practice or learn a new body of water, fun fishing or competitively fishing. Side imaging to me is a key feature that I can't see myself getting rid of anytime soon. But I will kick it over to Joe because I can speak from experience having competed against Joe. Joe is very in tune with the imaging features of Humminbird.
So yeah, I got to sit down with Robbie and we talked over some of the finer points of Humminbird's 2D sonar and side imaging technology. And from that discussion, it really kind of affirmed for me, what I already know and believe. With their 2D chirp sonar, they're going to get some of the best target separation for any time you're using a regular 2D sonar. But where it really shines is that Mega imaging, and with Mega Plus side imaging.
Mega Plus has superior range as well, which has really helped us maybe potentially stay off the structure a little bit better, yet still see that spot or that fish holding, piece of cover, or even a school of fish or a big ball of bait that otherwise has helped us find fish. So we're not driving directly over those fish to see them. We're, several, maybe we're 100+ feet away from them, but we're still seeing those little shadows that show us a school of bass. We're seeing the little white grains of sand.
Humminbird really were the ones who brought side imaging as a whole to the market. To begin with, they were the first of the major brands that had it really, that was reliable and useful, and it's only gotten better every step along the way. And it's at a point now where, fishing tournaments, getting ready for tournaments, or even sometimes like certain times of the year, midsummer on, when the fish are offshore, if I'm even fishing a new lake, I won't make a cast until I see something that I like. And, that could be a half hour driving around, but if a half hour driving around results in an hour of catching quality fish, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So for me, having the best clarity in side imaging is key. And you're going to see everything from sizes of rocks and bottom composition changes, weed beds, and sometimes actually individual fish, which is key.
I got to spark off now the meat and potatoes of this whole conversation. To me, anyway, when it comes to imaging, is the hot topic in all of the fishing industry, and that's forward-facing sonar. LiveScope from Garmin. To me, they, similar to Humminbird's kind of assault on the industry with mega imaging, with side imaging and 360 imaging, that forward-facing sonar, I haven't seen a change in angler behavior in a long time, if not ever, probably not ever, as we've seen with the change of tactics that was brought forward by Garmin with the forward-facing sonar technology. So I tried one of those. I actually have had the opportunity to see all three and fish with all three, just with friends and competitors and people that I've gotten to know throughout the years in the fishing industry. And I chose the Garmin one. I'll go out on a limb and say, for me anyway, it was the easiest to use. It was the easiest to see my targets with and all that.
They were the first, right? So from that point, you look at people down south. I mean, there might be a guy that, I've seen them that have like a $500 boat, but they have LiveScope on it. Like, it's insane to me. Crappie fishing is what started this whole trend, which is now just flooded into muskie, walleye, bass, you name it. And with that, it's a good kind of segue to talk about how people are incorporating different brands on their boats. I would say it's definitely not just tournament guys that are getting LiveScope. Really? It's probably more people that are not fishing tournaments. Wow. But if you fish tournaments, you better have it.
I was leaning towards maybe trying the ActiveTarget, and I know Lowrance actually even has a new updated ActiveTarget as well. Perspective mode, we were learning with forward-facing sonar, is a valuable tool. It's gaining some steam amongst tournament anglers and just recreational anglers too, of being able to see the structure and fish swimming around. It's a narrower picture. You're not getting that 360-degree view, but you are getting a very detailed picture, and I think they're improving on those technologies. Now, I know for you, getting ActiveTarget, did you find yourself using it also to look for structure, or was it just strictly staring at fish that you were targeting?
That was exactly what I was going to say. Like I said, I just want to have one brand. Yeah, I could have gotten 360 and maybe some sort of live, but I wanted it to be all in one. With my ActiveTarget, I'm looking for weed lines, I'm looking for fish as well, and it's just more fun. Yeah. That's why I wanted it. It was more fun, but it's still a very useful tool. That's ActiveTarget 1. Now, Aaron Teal at Intune Marine had some really cool things to say about ActiveTarget 2.
Pretty excited about it. So I would say ActiveTarget is pretty top-notch when it comes to looking forward in that forward-looking slice. But one thing that they were a little bit behind on is that perspective mode. And you know, I got to be honest, that Garmin came out and that perspective mode changed how you can fish that shallow range in that 15-foot or less zone, almost, you know, giving you pretty much live 360 in a half pizza slice in front of the boat. So Lowrance with that ActiveTarget 2, they're really improving upon that perspective mode, which I think is really going to improve how you fish shallow water, how you approach shallow water. And I think if it's as detailed as I hope it's going to be, fishing a shallow tree, you're going to know which branch that bass is sitting on. So,
and now with ActiveTarget 2, you can even have 2 of them in perspective mode for almost a 360. It's probably like the 270 range, so you can really look all around the boat without having to move the trolling motor head a whole lot.
Yeah, which is crazy. And if you're a guy who can afford something like that, it's almost like cheating, probably. Yeah.
So do you find yourself, though, at all, like, as you've driven around, maybe mapped out an area or chosen an area of the lake you want to fish, have you found yourself using your ActiveTarget to pick apart some structure when you're not even seeing any fish? Or are you one of those anglers now that we've heard from a lot of anglers, if they don't see the fish, they just move on and keep going?
I'm trying my best not to become that. If I see a steep break while I'm panning, I'm gonna fish it. If I see a giant rock, I'm gonna fish it. I'm not always just looking for fish. I've had some of my biggest fish catches last year, not even seeing it, but seeing the structure. So to me, it's still super important to pick apart those places that you would think are fishy.
Yeah, well, if you're hearing what I'm hearing from between these two, I do think we're seeing an argument to be had for having both that 360 imaging and forward-facing sonar capabilities if you're a competitive angler. Nick had a great point, though, I don't want to just gloss over when you said that you're out there to have fun. And that's kind of something that's changed in me a lot recently. Joe can speak to this and the other guys here at Omnia. I've really missed a lot of the fun fishing trips I used to take and just having a good time on the water. I've been fishing with my wife a lot more lately and trying new bodies of water. And to me, maybe the expense of having absolutely everything or the competitive nature of me sliding back a little bit where I just want to go out and have a good time and fish, and I'm finding myself having a little bit more fun just kind of going out there and seeing what that lake's got to offer me for the day as far as fish that are right in front of me. So I've been having fun just basically focusing on that forward-facing sonar and zipping around and covering water throughout the day versus really picking apart and breaking down structure like I think you kind of have to do if you're going to be a competitive tournament angler.
Yeah, I mean, with the circuits that we fish, the Denny's on Minnetonka, it's so competitive. I mean, and the fish out there, they're so pressured. Like, you could look at your forward-facing sonar all day long, and we've all done it. You could pull up on a deep reef, and there's bass down there, and they look big, and they see your bait. You know they're looking at it, but they're not biting. So, like, to me, that is the biggest distraction, especially in a tournament scenario. I like to eliminate those distractions. So, like, one thing I found with the slight learning curve to using forward-facing sonar, the trap that I had to avoid was just constantly looking at it, constantly trying to see my bait, constantly trying to see fish. To me, it's really just an accessory tool in addition to already everything else in your boat, your mapping, your side imaging, everything else that's getting you keyed in on those areas where the fish are. And that forward-facing sonar is just kind of helping you identify, maybe one day the school is on the tip of the point, but then on the tournament day, they've shifted down the edge. Well, that forward-facing sonar, you can tell that, without that, you might have just thought, oh, they're gone. You don't know where they are.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I mean, we've all heard the jokes about, like, they call it scope neck, where you see people hunched over and their head bent down all day long because they're just staring at that LiveScope all day long. And that's certainly something we're seeing happen all over the country. And if you look at the major tournament trails, the surprises, to me anyway, where we're seeing bodies of water that shouldn't be being dominated by forward-facing sonar because of the seasonality or whatever, but there's people that have become experts at staring at those things and identifying fish that are willing to bite. Because to Joe's point, I think the biggest weakness I have as an angler, a lot of people have had with it, is they're fishing for fish that they're not going to catch. They're fishing for fish that just won't bite. And the real experts with forward-facing sonar have learned how to eliminate a school of fish real quickly that, hey, these fish are inactive. I'm not going to be able to get them to bite. I'm moving on and going to find something else to go fish. So I think you're going to see, obviously, these technologies expand over time and get even better. As controversial as that is, a lot of people are saying it's gone one step too far with forward-facing sonar. I don't think that's going to stop anglers from doing everything they can to be more efficient on the water. I think we're going to see more technologies. But for me, where I've found myself, and I have to ask both you two, what's your limit at this point of what you're going to have on the front of your boat this year as far as imaging and sonar capabilities? For me, I'm stopping at having forward-facing sonar and side imaging. Obviously, traditional 2D sonar, that comes without saying. We are going to have that. But I'm going to use those two tools this year and stop myself at that, not only because of budget constraints, but just also for my own headspace when I'm out on the water. I don't want to overdo it anymore. I kind of want to just get out there and see how effective I can be with just those two tools. But how about you?
Like you, I'm just going to stick with the ActiveTarget 1. It's good enough for me. I would think about adding maybe that Ghost 360 nose cone so I could get some of the benefits Joe's talking about. If I had if I didn't have a budget, I'd be getting a couple of ActiveTarget 2s, pairing them together, getting that 270 range of scout mode. Yeah, but that's not in the picture, so.
I get you. How about you? What are you going to do?
With me, I'm, like everyone, I'm using that at the dash, my 2D for navigation, mostly with GPS, and then side imaging to break down spots and find where I want to drop a waypoint and turn around and start fishing. And once I do that, I'll have my Mega 360 and Mega Live. I think it's key to have both. The Mega 360 is your cover awareness. It's showing you all the way around your boat at all times. You don't have to pan around to see where the weed line is. It's all there at all times. It's on autopilot. And then the Mega Live is what, like I said before, it's key for finding where the bait's located. Is the bait sitting high in the water column, or it's down in the weeds more, or down by the bottom? And then finding the fish. If you caught fish in practice there, it's a good spot. Those fish, odds are they didn't go far.
Yeah.
But in using your or forward-facing sonar, you can kind of identify, maybe they're more inactive down on the bottom, or they've shifted down the edge more. It's going to kind of give you those keys to have a better day on the water and catch more fish when they're there.
Mm-hmm. How they react to certain baits,
exactly.
How they're not reacting.
Yep, 100%. Yep.
So once again, I think we get to the part in this discussion we've had now when we talked about user interface. In a previous episode of this, we also talked about navigation and GPS. It comes down to, even now that we're talking about imaging and sonar, you could not be brand loyal and kind of jump around and kind of get some key features from each of the manufacturers and have the best of everybody there. I think Nick touched on it really well, that Lowrance kind of does great or good at everything. Maybe not the king of forward-facing sonar or side imaging or any of those things, but they do really good at all of them. So it allowed him to have one package, one brand, one boat network, to steal the line from what Joe's using here, the one boat network from Humminbird, Minn Kota, being able to have all those features. And we know Humminbird's really, really, really prevalent when it comes to the imaging quality of a side imaging and the 360 and even mega down imaging as well. I didn't really touch on that much. I did use that a lot last year myself, actually. I should have touched on that a little bit more. And then you got someone like me that's really looking at maybe branching out and having a couple different brands on my boat in the future here and going with that Garmin. I do still feel like I'm gonna have to keep my my Helix for that side imaging because I'm so proficient with it already, and then going with that Garmin for that forward-facing sonar. So we'd like to hear from you guys. Always feel free to reach out to us here at Omnia Fishing and let us know if you got questions, if you're going to go with one brand, or you want to know what our opinions are and the features that they all offer. And we want to thank again the guys at Intune Marine. Bob Downey and Rob Storer for helping us out as we are all ourselves learning about marine electronics.